going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we got a brand new video, and I was going to talk about the Robinhood hack that happened that affected millions of people, but the CPI data came out, and it's terrible. Before we go into that, if you are not subscribed, make sure you smash that sub button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's get into this CPI news because it was so bad for the entire month-over-month stuff as well as the yearly. So this is the CPI numbers. It's 6.2% for year-over-year, October 2020 to October 2021 this year. And a massive number that is something that people should be paying attention to a lot is this 0.9% inflation month over month. If you do that or adjust it yearly, it's 0.9 times the month. That's a 10.8% inflation per year. That is ridiculous. That is insane. And the people who have been in charge of this inflation and trying to keep it under control, doing all this stuff, all of them went down the exact same path and said the exact same thing, where in the beginning it was, don't worry, inflation's not going to happen, it's fine. Then it became, inflation's transitory, it's going to happen for a little bit and it's going to go away. And then 7 months later, when it's still here and running rampant, they've changed the whole thing to inflation's good for you. That doesn't make any sense at all. That will never make sense. Trying to sell inflation is good for people doesn't ever make any sense at all. And one of the biggest red flags I think anybody should have been on the lookout for is back in 2020 or 2019, everything, when stimulus started coming out and the talks of these trillion-dollar packages and pumping money and liquidity into the stock market and everything. The Bitcoiners, people in crypto, were saying inflation is going to hit hard. You have to protect yourself. You have to do all these things. You can no longer save your way to anything, to even stability. You can't save your way there. You have to even invest your way to be stable now. But when numbers like this come out and Bitcoiners are proven right and they're saying, inflation is going to run rampant, it's going to be bad, you cannot just print all this money and pump all this liquidity into markets without something happening. And the economists, the politicians, everyone is saying, you're wrong. Inflation is going to do nothing. It's going to be perfectly fine and everything's going to go on as normal. And then now here we are, where the Bitcoiners and people who don't do economics and all this stuff for a living were right. And the people who do it for a living were completely wrong. So you have to just say, how much do these people actually know? And it's a very complicated thing, like the economy, inflation, all this stuff. But if it's your main job to do this, and people on the internet, on Twitter, who like Bitcoin were right and you were wrong, that should be a pretty big red flag. And this is the whole report itself and the, everything they put out. And you can see even from this chart, this is the monthly stuff. So in June we had 0.9%, saw it go down, and now it's rocketed back up, which is crazy to even see all of that stuff, as well as you see this all items have been just trending up, and it's almost like this is going parabolic, this type of stuff. So we'll see if they decide to ever increase rates. That might not be a possibility anymore because of all the debt it's taken on, and trying to monetize that debt is no longer really an option. So maybe they can turn off the money printer for a period of time, but eventually it's going to have to come back online. But all this stuff here kind of shows, all of the categories that they all went through. You can see all items and stuff like this. It just covers everything, kind of breaks down all of it. And the biggest thing with this report, compared to other reports, where it was like, I think a couple months ago, there was the 5.4% or over 5%, and everyone's saying it's just because used cars went up so much. Everything else in the index, it's doing fine, but it's just because used cars went up so much. It brought the entire index up. But now in this one, there's none of that. Every single thing except for education and recreation is up in inflation, up a substantial amount, even just month over month, up 1, 2, 3% in a month period. And it's just crazy that everything is up and you can no longer point to one thing. So that's the biggest takeaway from this kind of report. This one in particular is everything's affected. You cannot just say used cars caused the 5% inflation. Now it's 6.2% 2%, and it's everything's going up in price. You can't put the blame on anything. That could be why people are, taking more seriously. And we saw a shot up in the Bitcoin price right here. You can see, obviously, this was around when the data was put out, and it just completely skyrocketed up in price to a new all-time high, $69,000. Going back to this types of consumer stuff, if we go back to the top here and look at this chart, we can see month over month. We can see, obviously, almost 1% month over month inflation, which would be over 12% inflation for the year. If we look at the velocity of money, which is this chart right here, this shows money exchanging hands. People, when you buy something, when companies put in orders, when money exchanges hands, it's the velocity of money. And right now, we can see it's plummeted. Obviously, we know what happened in 2019 here, a huge plummet, and it's still kind of staying at this lower level. So with velocity of money being absolutely so low, and then the CPI still coming in almost 1% month over month, and over 6.2% for the year, for the year over year, when this starts to tick up, if this starts to tick up, will be a massive catalyst for insane inflation. So we're seeing these ridiculous numbers without the velocity of money cycling the economy. And if this ticks up and we see this start to tick up, I think inflation is going to start to really hit hard. And, we think 6.2% inflation is hitting hard right now, but that is going to be nothing compared to if the velocity of money picks up and people start buying stuff and exchanging money. Then inflation is going to massively pick up, and it could turn into a very, very big problem very quickly. Talking about the CPI stuff, how it's really not the best measurement for stuff. It is kind of designed to be artificially low and kept low. But you can see this is Jack Dorsey replying to this tweet saying the U.S. inflation is 6.2% for the year over year, highest in 31 years, which is crazy. 1990. You have to go back to see inflation like this. 31 years. Most people, they're seeing the highest level of inflation they've ever seen in their entire lifetime right now. And Jack Dorsey replies, it says, now try measuring using the pre-1980 methodology. That is this chart right here. So if you look at this stuff, consumer inflation, so the blue line is the alternate CPI, what would be used in 1980, and then CPI today is the red line. You can see the red line is meant to kind of keep it artificially lower than what it really is. It kind of measures cost of living. They change it to cost of living stuff instead of what really cost of goods is doing. So this blue line is the CPI 1980, and you can see it is almost at 15%. So the actual or the unofficial numbers is 15% inflation. That is absolutely ridiculous. And that's actually what could be underlying the real numbers. CPI is artificially kept low a lot of the times, and 6% CPI still sounds really bad. It is really bad, but 15% of what could be the actual inflation is way worse. And even if you went to try and look at like these individual types of things here, this is commodity prices over the last year. Crude oil 109%, heating oil 106, gas 105, Brent crude 101, coffee 88% higher for coffee. Coffee is almost doubled in price. See all this stuff, 74, 71, 39, all of these things are ridiculous. And gold down 1% in an environment where it should be thriving, and it is just not doing that. Gold is no longer working. But you look at all of this stuff, ridiculous inflation. You pick from things on the CPI report. You can see gasoline 50% up, gas utilities 28%, used cars still 26%, meat, fish, egg 12%, new cars are up 10%. Electricity, so utilities up 6.5%. All of this stuff is ridiculous. Even food at home and food away from home, you're getting screwed either way. If you want to try and eat out or not eat out and save money, you're still paying a large more amount of money for food to make it at home. So everything is getting much more expensive. Things are going off the wall. And if we see velocity of money pick up, then we're really going to see this stuff start to get crazy. So this inflation data, CPI report, absolute insanity. It's not even one thing that you can point to like they have before, saying it's just used cars, don't worry about it. Now it's everything is going up in price. If you are not investing or have investment, that includes Bitcoin, the best one, in my opinion, even stocks, real estate, all of these things. If you don't have assets, you are getting your purchasing power absolutely demolished. So if you don't have assets, probably try and find a way to start getting assets. I mean, this inflation doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Their entire mindset has went from inflation won't happen to it's transitory to inflation is good for you. Like, it is absolute insanity. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in my next video.